Hello, travel biz owner. Welcome to my corner of the travel industry, the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. If you're ready to have fun, be inspired, get clarity, and take action in your travel business, then you're in the right place. Let's jump in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I cannot believe that we are midway of this month. It is cuckoo bananas. On that note, I have been wanting to do like some 12 days of Christmas or Advent calendar, especially since I've talked about it, and that just has not happened yet. So, if when I do it, it will probably go out either on social media, in the Facebook group, or via email, which it might not go out this Friday. But if you are wanting, I'm going to do something fun right before the holidays. Just make sure that you're following me either in the Facebook group, on Facebook, on Instagram. I probably will do a story about it so that I can let you know, hey, this is the fun thing, because it will most likely be some sort of like email series where over a period of 7 days that I'll email you like some fun tidbits or facts or some insider insights. I'm even thinking about doing like some free social media audits just for funsies, but you'll have to take advantage of the day that it comes out. So just stay tuned to the different channels that I have so you can be aware when that comes out. Because I've been really wanting to do it, but it has been so cuckoo bananas on my end. I've been doing some handmade Christmas gifts, which I grossly underestimated how long they would take. So I am not having a lot of downtime either in business or personal life because I'm trying to crank these out like a Christmas elf. So please bear with me. That is not the subject of today's conversation. I really did want to talk about metrics and business metrics that you should be tracking, and specifically thinking about like marketing and sales metrics. And this was really inspired by recent events for travel industry Black Friday, because there's a lot of important data metrics that I tracked. And so I just wanted to share a couple of those with you and kind of like get in my brain a little bit of how I was thinking about these metrics and viewing these metrics, because metrics, I know that's kind of like, what are you talking about, Rita? I consider them data points. So points where you're able to get some information about how people are interacting with you and your content, your website, anything like that. So a lot of the matrix that I will look at a lot is to see like, are people listening to the podcast? Are people opening my emails? Are people interacting with my social media posts? Because then I can make decisions based on those metrics. Do I keep doing certain things or do I stop doing certain things, especially if they're not working? And a lot of that decision making does take some time because I will not make a rash decision almost. Like if you're starting to incorporating writing blogs or marketing on social media, it really does take 3 to 6 months to see any sort of changes or things that are happening. I think this is also part of why we need to be a little bit more strategic when it comes to marketing and things that we are looking at, because if we're looking at straight, I'm putting this blog post out or I've been blogging for so long and nobody is coming in, what is the reasoning that nobody's coming in? Because it could be a couple of different things. So specifically, like when we're talking about websites, some of the metrics that you want to take a look at are clicks, views, conversions. And I say this because there's a couple of different things, and I'll take it from the viewpoint of travel industry Black Friday. I actually shout out to Nicole, part of Marketing Business School, who suggested that I use something called short.io as my link shortener, because that's what I did for Prep for Wave Week and also Travel Industry Black Friday to track clicks on people's links. So you'll know for Travel Industry Black Friday, there were a lot of different industry vendors that were participating, and I wanted to be able to see like how busy things were happening. And so some links were getting just like a couple dozen, some links were getting like a couple hundred of clicks. So that was able to tell me, and it didn't matter like if you were higher up on the list or lower up on the list. It told me a couple of different things, and I will talk about this from the viewpoint of Travel Industry Black Friday, but I hope that you can use this information to relate it to your own travel business. Because when I see high clicks, that to me means that there's a lot of people that want this thing that somebody has to offer. The problem is that clicks is one thing and conversions is another thing. So somebody clicking on your link has probably read through your sales page and either decided, yes, I want this thing. No, I don't want this thing. If they say, yes, they want this thing, that is a conversion. That's what I qualify as a conversion. And so I know for myself personally, so I was promoting the cruise content library at Travel Industry Black Friday. I was getting a lot of clicks. I was not getting a lot of conversions. What that meant to me was I needed to update my sales page and the copy that's on that sales page. I think that this is something that we miss a lot within the travel industry, especially if we're not taking a look at these sorts of data points, these metrics, is that you can think you have written the most amazing blog post or have the best sales page for your group trip that you're putting up together. But if nobody is converting to a paid client, something is wrong, and that's typically in the copy that you have written. So you need to make some tweaks. And I think the best way to direct how you're going to be making those tweaks is by asking for feedback. And that's a lot of what I did to increase my conversion rate. Is I asked people to review my sales page, people who might be interested in buying it, people who had no interest in buying it, and then just colleagues that I have that are outside of the industry to help me, like, what would you need to know or what needs to be changed that would make you or entice you to want to buy this item. And so those are the things, if you are currently experiencing, you've been trying to sell, you know, because of your website metrics, that a lot of people are seeing your page views, they're seeing your sales page, but they're not converting into paid clients. Something about your sales page is not selling them. They are not convinced. So there's a couple different things that you can do about this. So outside of just asking for feedback. One of the things that you can do, because ChatGPT now supports you submitting in links, that it'll help analyze different pages. So I went to ChatGPT, and there is actually this GPT that I use, which, hold on, let me pull it up so I can share it with you. It's called Copywriting Pro is the GPT. And it's already specialized in copywriting, and especially like sales page conversion. So you don't have to, like, normally if I was just asking ChatGPT something, I would mention, like, I need you to act as a highly skilled copywriter. I don't need to do some of that because it is a pre-written, pre-loaded GPT for this one. And so I was asking it, I'm like, I am only receiving 3% conversions from this sales page, and I would like to receive 10% conversions from this sales page. How can I get there? Can you give me pointers on how I can increase this? This sales page is meant for these type of people. This is why they would be interested in this type of product. So that's something that you could do similarly using that GPT, or a different one, is to ask it like how you can update and refresh it. And it will spit out like really good suggestions to you. It is funny because lots of the suggestions it mentioned were very similar to the feedback that I was getting. So I was like, okay, there's alignment, there's synergy here. Let me make the updates and enhancements. And so I took the suggestions from ChatGPT and the feedback that I was given, and I was able to double my conversion rate from 3% to 6%. So you can see that some modifications on your sales page can have some really beneficial outcomes for your website. So if you're like, I've never made any sales off my website or any of my group pages, it could be a copywriting thing. And if you are not that great at writing sales pages also, because sales pages should not necessarily be, it's this group trip, this is the supplier, here are the places that we'll visit. You have to add some of the lingo of who your ideal client is in there. That was part of my problem on my sales pages, that I was adding like very industry marketing specific jargon that a lot of people didn't really understand. So I did change it to what an average business owner might be talking to. So you have to think about your own travel clients and what are their specific pain points. Like, oh, I hate trying to plan like the logistics of everything, or I'm a solo traveler, but I don't want to be a solo traveler. I want to travel the world, but I don't want to travel by myself, but I want to travel with like-minded people. You have to think on those more specific psychographics and make sure to infuse that information in your sales page copy. If you are not that great at writing sales pages too, especially when it comes to like you're trying to sell specific groups and things like that, I would use this similar GPT, the Copywriting Pro GPT, to be like, hey, I am trying to sell my first African safari. And if you've talked to ChatGPT before, it will kind of know the words, the lingo, who you work with. If you're not actively using ChatGPT on a regular basis, then you're going to need to give it some more information. So I'm a travel advisor. I cater to these type of people. Everybody has expressed interest in African safari because of XYZ. And so I need to make a sales page because these are all the trip details, and I want to be able to easily sell this and have a really high conversion on my sales page because I want it to sell out to my VIP list before I open this up to everybody else. Like, just give it as much information as possible. This is also probably like a good training tool for prompting ChatGPT, because the more information that you can give and the nicer that you are to the AI, the better output that you get. Because I know usually if I'm getting a bad output from an AI, it's because I have not given it all the information that it needs, which is why I've always also started incorporating in my sessions with ChatGPT at the end of it, do you need any other information to help you write this sales page for me, or help you blank whatever I need it to do at that moment? Because it will come up with questions. Sometimes it'll be like, no, I have everything that I need. Here is an outline of what your sales page should look like, what should be on there, what you should be mentioning. And the more information, the better kind of copy that you'll get, which means it is more likely that there's a higher likelihood that you'll have more conversions to anybody that's going on that sales page. So those are a couple of the metrics. There were high views on the sales page. There were high clicks to look onto the sales page, but the conversions, people buying the things, weren't high. So that means that there's a problem. Like, the visibility was good, didn't have to worry about visibility. So if your sales page is good, but you're not having a lot of traction on your website, that means you have a visibility problem. You're not sending enough people to your website, or people are not easily finding that sales page, that site. So you have to work on, like, if you just want for people to be able to find this on the internet, then you need to work on your search engine optimization. If you are wanting to like just utilize social media more, public speaking more, podcast guesting more, any sort of thing that helps with your visibility, then you need to make sure, especially if you are trying to sell out a group trip, you need to be talking about this group trip everywhere so that you drive traffic from those visibility points to the sales page so that they can see what's available on there and then start converting in that way. So those are typically like two of the biggest, what I would say, like metricsy type problems, is if you have a lot of visibility but people aren't buying, you probably have a copy problem. If people aren't buying but you're not getting a lot of traffic to your website, you have a visibility problem and you have to increase the number of eyeballs that head over there. So there's something that I had been noticing for travel industry Black Friday is if people were getting lower clicks than other people, I noticed that it was usually because they weren't talking about the event as much as other people were, or their copy on where their button was at was off. So that could be another thing. Like people are viewing things, but you're not hooking them with whatever your headline is, because that could be a problem too. Like if somebody isn't spending a lot of time on your page, which is another metric that you can see, especially when we're thinking about Google Analytics, is how long are people spending on your website? If they're not spending a lot of time, there's another copy problem on your website, that something is not keeping them there to keep their attention, to want them for them to like read through your whole sales page. You've probably lost them, and it's probably due to like the above the fold section, which is that very top part section. Something that is also helpful, and this is something that I am going to be researching, and I think I found like a mini course, but I haven't gone through it yet to like really be able to talk about it, is something called UTM tracking. And quite honestly, I do not know what UTM means, but I know that UTM tracking is pretty much like you're putting special code in a URL so that you can track how people got into your world and what else are they doing in your world before they become a paid client. I don't think that this is really talked a lot about as much in our industry too. And I think it's very insightful because one of the industry vendors at Travel Industry Black Friday said they got a lot of wins in a certain area, but they also know, so they were able to get a lot of people added to their email list, but not as many conversions. But they weren't upset at that because they know that it takes 6 to 9 months for somebody to be in their world in order for them to convert into a client. Because that's the other thing. A lot of this takes time, and that's why I said you need at least 3 to 6 months to notice any changes, especially when you're tracking your metrics, because especially nowadays, 2024, heading into 2025, it takes people, this is not like a all or nothing, it can take people a lot longer to make a buying decision, especially if it is a high investment decision. And again, it doesn't take everybody, but sometimes it does. Like, I've talked about like all the multiple touch points that you have. Typically, I think it was 7 to 12. I think now it's like 12 to 17 touch points that people need because we are so inundated with content from all the different places that we can consume content that it takes people a little bit longer to warm up to you and to know that you are the right person that they need to be working with. And so a way that you can track like how long does this take for you, and a way that you can track what their journey is with you, because maybe the average journey of somebody is that they have to attend 2 of your travel masterclasses, 2 of your travel webinars before they convert into a paid client. And that is something that UTM tracking can assist with, is being able to see like where are they at, because without it, we just see they joined our email list in March and then they made a payment on their first trip the next March. So you're able to get more information. I think having this additional information via UTM tracking can help you identify like really what are the touch points that your ideal client needs. Like where is it also like that they are converting on? Like, is it the same blog post? Is this the same type of social media post? Is this because you had a second discovery call? You're able to better enhance like where these conversion points are happening. And I would even say if you're able to make smarter decisions on your UTM metrics because of that, you're able to improve the type of content that you put out there. Because let's say you put out content about deals all the time and nobody converts from deals, but they do convert when you mention your personal experience on an African safari or on a cruise ship or anything like that. Then you know you need to be talking more about your personal travel experiences, because those are the things that are going to convert people into clients and not the other stuff. So that is actually something that's on my own personal list that I am looking to. So if I think that the UTM course that I'm about to purchase, and it's a mini course, it's not like a big investment, anything. If I think that's any good, I will go ahead and I'll share that. Woo! I'm throwing pens over here. I'll share that on a future podcast episode, or I'll share it on social media or emails. That way, so that you also can use this information and help yourself with tracking metrics that way as well. Other marketing metrics that I make sure to track, I'm always tracking my podcast metrics. So how many downloads, something that I need to add to my podcast metrics is probably, but this I feel like can be adjusted for with UTMs also, is that like how long, if you've downloaded a lead magnet from the podcast, how long does it take for somebody to convert into a client? That's a whole other thing, but podcast analytics, the metrics aren't the best because you have to go to a couple different areas. So podcast metrics are much harder than I would say like website metrics and analytics and like YouTube analytics and things like that, and email marketing. So email marketing analytics I think are really, really great. I just recently posted that I actually purged my email list of 663 people, which is both scary but also invigorating. And so every 6 months, I will do kind of like this purge of inactive people. So anybody that hasn't opened an email or clicked, like engaged with an email, I will delete them off of my email list, because obviously if they're not opening or clicking things, they're not interested in what I have to offer, what I have to say, or how I can help them. So it is best to delete them for a couple of different reasons. And I do list this in a Facebook post, a Facebook group post, but a lot of it has to do like with deliverability. I know earlier this year we were talking about deliverability rates and the DMARC, SPF, DKIM, all of those acronyms in terms of email marketing. And that has something to do with it. So if you are emailing a lot of people, but you still have like a chunk of people on your list that aren't interacting with you, remove them, because it's going to help boost your deliverability rates and it's going to help boost your open and click-through rates, which are a couple of metrics that you should really be keeping an eye on. And deliverability it kind of works in the sense of like if Gmail or if Yahoo or whatever mailer provider that you have is seeing that you are sending out all these emails and certain amounts of people are not opening up, they're going to be like, well, I don't want to deliver this email because it's not going to get opened up anyway, so why should I even clog this person's inbox? That is part of why I want to improve the deliverability, is because I don't want an email service provider to be like, this email is not even going to be worth it. So that's why I do this purge every 6 months. Not only that, my open rates, so the email open rates will go up because of that, and the click rates will also come up because of that. I would much rather have a smaller list with super engaged people on it than a bigger list and barely any open rates, barely any click rates. Like, there is a lot of power and strength in having a very active email community. And so I want you, like, if you're fearful of deleting people off of your list, like, this is only going to make sure that you are talking to the exact people who need your travel services. So do not be afraid to toss anybody off the wayside, especially if they haven't opened your emails in 6 months. The other thing that I want you to think about is if they're kind of like, oh, but I really want it to be on your email list, they'll find a way to make it back, especially if they really want to work with you. So I wouldn't worry too much about like, oh my gosh, I've spent all this work, because that's definitely something that I was worried about, but I'm also like, I have to focus on the abundance side. I cannot focus on the scarcity side, and I really need to focus on the people that need my services and that are interested in my services. And I want you to think the same way. There are people that really need the genius that you have within your travel business. So make sure that you are focusing on them and not these other people who are like, meh, I could take her, I could leave her, I could leave him, whatever. You want the people that you are surrounding yourself to be as vested in you as you are in them. So email open rate, also a refresher, if you didn't know, the average email open rate is 20%. So if you're like, oh my gosh, like 100% of my people, like that is, I don't think that would be very interesting if that was a thing, if 100% of people opened your emails. So don't worry too if you're like, I have a really low open rate. 20% is industry average. So if you're doing on par with that or a little bit better, you're doing really great. Click rate. So there are far less people that are going to click your email than they will open your email. So I feel like 2 to 5% is a really great click-through rate. So if you're at that, you're doing really good. So don't worry about there as well. Again, this also means that you have a highly engaged audience. So this can be an indicator that if you're going to be putting out webinars or masterclasses or mixers or cruise nights or things like that, you're probably going to have a higher turnout than if you have a lower engaged email list. Conversion rate. So kind of going back, I know we were talking about web metrics. So conversion rate, especially, we were talking a little bit about how many calls are becoming sales. It's also how long does it take for that certain person to become a sale. So we had been talking about like, are there certain posts or things like that? But another thing to consider when it comes to conversion rates are there certain lead magnets that you have that might inspire more action, more conversions to take place than other lead magnets? Like maybe if you're able to get a couple people on a call, that inspires more action than people just downloading a freebie of yours. And that's what I mean by lead magnet. If you weren't aware of that term, is a way for somebody to join your email list because you're giving them something super juicy and irresistible that they cannot like help but be like, here's my email address, add me to your community because you have something that's going to give me a really quick win that's been a really big thorn in my side when I'm planning travel. So, and this is also why it would be nice if you had a couple of different lead magnets so that you can test out what are the best types of lead magnets that you're using within your travel business. Other types of metrics outside of kind of like the email metrics and the conversion and website metrics that you want to be taking a look at, especially when we're reevaluating the end of the year, are how many people traveled with you this year, so that you can also find out what is your own conversion rate. So if you're having 25 discovery calls every year, but only 20% convert, Is there something that you need to do? Do you like that? That's a really great conversion rate. Do you like that? Do you want to get a little bit better? Maybe you have 25 discovery calls, but you're only converting 15%, 15 people, and you would like it to be 20 people. That might mean that you might need a little bit of sales training, discovery call training to get you a little bit better at converting people. This might mean that you have to talk about your products a little bit more so that people know what you're selling and can be more apt to buying the travel products that you're selling. So thinking about that, and also just your operational metrics. How many people are traveling? How long have they traveled? How much are they spending with you? Is this like a group spend? Is this an individual spend? Why are they picking these trips? Why are they working with you? And what types of travel products and services are they investing in? Being able to see this can give you a map. And also show you, I spend way too much time and the commissions on this type of trip are not worth it. Or I'm seeing a trend. More people are starting to upgrade from just mass market cruises to more premium and luxury line cruises. I should really start changing my marketing and talking about these types of opportunities so I can sell more and work a little bit less. When are sales happening? Are a majority of your sales happening during that wave season Q1, Q2 period? Are they happening year round? Are you experiencing any sales dips? When are commissions being paid out? So being able to track how long and how far out someone is booking versus when your commission is being paid out can also help with your financial planning. So those are some of the financial metrics that you want to keep on top of as well. Also, reevaluating some of this information can tell you, are your fees high enough for the amount of work that you are putting in on trips? I know when I was on this side more often, that was a big consideration. And I remember one of my group leaders was like, are you sure we only need to pay you this amount of money? And I was like, shoot, I think I need to raise my rates then. So thinking about that and making sure to account for things it's not just the work that you're doing, but also your vacation time, your sick time, your personal time, because we don't get that as entrepreneurs. So you have to build that into your rates as well. You also have to build into your rates your operating expenses and things like that. So are you, when we're talking about metrics, are you having more expenses than you are in revenue? So that means you need to have a bump in revenue. Maybe increasing your fees just a little bit will help you cover that buffer so that you're not breaking even or just barely making a profit. This also ties into, do you need to hire help? Maybe you are generating enough revenue, but you are feeling completely burnt out. So you either need to supercharge your systems or hire out help that can assist you. So these are all parts of different metrics within your business that you should be tracking on a fairly regular basis, whether that's a spreadsheet, whether that's in QuickBooks. This can also be in your project management. You should have some sort of way to be tracking all these different metrics. Like my podcast metrics, I have a Google spreadsheet that I use to track those metrics. You can also just create different spreadsheets and things like Airtable or ClickUp to track these things out. So let me know what kinds of metrics you are tracking in your own travel business. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to a piece of fan mail that I got earlier this week from last week's episode. This is from Travel Pro in Jacksonville, Florida. Hey, Rita. These are great reminders. This was about our etiquette episode. I'm so glad you shared these points. Many you made seem like common sense that people tend not to be cognizant of. I have made several errors from just not knowing protocols, especially when I was new to the industry. I still have challenges with getting thank you notes and emails out in a timely manner when on a fam. Recently, I went on a fam with members of my ASTA chapter to beaches, Turks and Caicos. We came up with a system where we had the person we knew who took the best photos go through the first rooms go through the rooms first to get good people-free shots. Someone else did video, and the rest of us followed through to check everything out. We set up a group on Photo Circle app and shared the photos we got. Worked well in that situation. I know it wouldn't for all situations because people need to utilize the content for different purposes. I tend to do the same as you when I wait to go last when everyone else has gone through the staterooms on the ship. Wink, wink. Great episode. Thank you so much. And that is really great tips. So thank you for sharing that about the Photo Circle app, and then also about just taking turns when you're on a fam trip and like designating people as the content people. And then you can just all share all of that. So I love hearing from you and then sharing your insights on the show. So if you had anything about the etiquette episode or this metrics episode, please feel free to share them here. I hope that this was super helpful and beneficial to you. I will see you here next week. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today. Remember to check out the show notes for all relevant links and resources from today's show. See you next time.